We got an opportunity asset-wise to build a team that can compete. If we can't do that, then it's a separate conversation we would have to have. Dame on his future with the Blazers. So Damian Lillard has spoken a lot and a lot publicly about him potentially departing from the Portland Trailblazers, and it is looking more and more likely like that is going to be the case. There are more reports being ramped up. Damian Lillard has even came out and said the destinations that he would prefer to go to, which is also very interesting, right? Like, hey, I want to go to the Brooklyn Nets, I want to go to the Miami Heat, but it is looking more and more likely like the Miami Heat are very likely going to be the destination in which Damian Lillard will find himself at. Now, there's always the speculation and rumors and stuff with Damian Lillard almost every year, and there's always that question mark. Is this the year that Damian Lillard is going to leave? But there's a couple of things this year that are very different than the previous years. One, Portland, they have a young core. They have the number 3 pick in the draft this year. It doesn't really make a lot of sense for them to go and trade those things to go get who? Like, who's going to save the Portland Trailblazers? Who is Damian Lillard going to be able to get that's going to immediately make them a contender? In reality, they would need like a Joel Embiid, something like that, if they legitimately wanted to be a contender, and I just don't see that happening. Damian Lillard is actively, based on reports, trying to recruit players in free agency to come to the Portland Trailblazers, but again, who's out there? What, James Harden? James Harden isn't coming to save the day. Like, him and Damian Lillard aren't enough to win the NBA championship, and Damian Lillard has a lot of question marks with his age, his undersize, his injury history. All of those things are huge factors that play a role. Real way I see Damian Lillard actually contending for an NBA championship is to go elsewhere, to go to another team. And based on reports, as I mentioned earlier, the Miami Heat seem to be the destination. So Damian Lillard said, Miami, obviously. Miami is the obvious one. Bam Adebayo is my dog. Bam is my dog for real. But, I think Miami is the obvious one, Lillard said. Brooklyn is another obvious one because Mikal Bridges is my dog too. Both have capable rosters. Also added during the Dan Patrick Show, Chris Haynes, who said he speaks with Lillard frequently, was asked about the possibility of Lillard joining the Boston Celtics this offseason and immediately shot it down, definitely saying he's not going to Boston. So Boston's out of the equation. There were a lot of rumors of like, do you swap Damian Lillard for like a Jaylen Brown? Something like that. He doesn't want to go to Boston. Lastly, if the Trailblazers and Damian Lillard ever decide to pursue a hypothetical trade, the Portland Trailblazers would assist in sending Lillard to his desired location in the East, per Chris Haynes. If it gets to that point, they would consult with Dame. He's been there for 10 years. He's a model citizen, represented that city and organization with class. I think they would try to get him where he wants to go in the East. Again, all signs point to Miami. Damian Lillard on the Miami Heat makes a world of sense. He's a Miami-type player. Him and Jimmy Butler would be beautiful, seamless. Him, Bam, and Jimmy would be one of the best trios in the league if Damian Lillard could stay healthy. Miami, they have all the tools, the coaching, everything you need to win an NBA championship. If Damian Lillard was on the Miami Heat, it's very possible Miami could have won the NBA championship this year. Miami very likely isn't winning it at this point as Denver is up 3-1. I don't think Miami really had a shot to win this year against Denver regardless. I wanted Jimmy Buckets to go get that, but Miami desperately needs another just go-to scorer. A guy who can close down the stretch, a guy who can put the ball in the hoop, a guy who can just go get a bucket, right? And it doesn't have to solely be on Jimmy Butler or, the role guys. I know, as Jimmy says, they're my teammates. I don't call them role guys, all that stuff. And I respect that. I love that about Jimmy, right? Those are his teammates. Those are his guys. But they just don't have the talent level. They have overachieved every step of the way. The problem with having a bunch of undrafted role guys who definitely deserve to be in the league, just because they're undrafted doesn't mean that they don't deserve to be in the league. There are plenty of really good undrafted guys. But the fact that they are role guys brings inconsistency, right? Like, that's the issue. Like, Max Strus has been very inconsistent. Duncan Robinson hasn't been that great. You just have all these rotation guys that are heavily relied on for Miami, and they're just not able to deliver. Like Caleb Martin was arguably their best player, most consistent player for good stretches of this playoff run. And he's been pretty much a non-factor. All of those things play a role. Miami needs another consistent guy. They do. And that's where I think Damian Lillard would come in. It would take so much pressure off of Bam, so much pressure off of Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler isn't really a scorer. Like he's just, he's Jimmy Buckets because he's able to just through strength, will, and determination able to go get a bucket. But he's not a great shooter. He's never been like this elite scorer that can just go get a bucket whenever. He has his spots, and he's able to just back guys down using his strength and, his just tools to get the shots that he wants. But they don't have like that natural scorer. And that's where I think Damian Lillard makes a lot of sense, right? Damian Lillard in that role as like their go-to scorer, as their natural scorer. That would allow Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo to kind of focus on the dirty work and the hard things that we've seen them do throughout the course of the playoffs, right? And not have to also do those things, but get you, 30 a night, right? Like they can just go and get their, 15 to 20 a night. And you have Damian Lillard who could go get you 25 to 30 a night. And then boom, there you go. Now you have the tools and intangibles to actually potentially win an NBA championship. So I think Damian Lillard on Miami just makes all the sense in the world. Now, there's always the Brooklyn scenario, but I don't really think that makes a lot of sense for Brooklyn, right? Like, you would need more than just Damian Lillard to be contending for an NBA championship. Like, yeah, Bridges has been nice and quite a surprise as far as like, oh, this guy might be an all-star level guy. And they do have some really nice pieces, but you're going to have to trade some of those pieces in order to get Damian Lillard. So, like, let's say you can keep Bridges and Johnson and Claxton and stuff like that. Like, that's cool, but I don't think that's, like, a contending team. Like, I just don't. And Brooklyn is better off just kind of staying the course, building, drafting, maybe finding a solid trade or two. Unless, if you go get Damian Lillard, maybe at that point you go all in, right? Maybe you trade for Damian Lillard, especially if you can get him relatively cheap. Because, again, Portland's going to want to do right by Damian Lillard. The last thing they're going to want to do is have Damian Lillard feel some type of way because Portland got greedy or something like that. And Portland can't afford that. Portland already has issues getting other stars. The last thing they want to do is to upset the most loyal guy in their franchise history and just kind of set a precedent for all the other potential stars, whether it's through the draft or elsewhere, going forward, right? So the Portland Trailblazers are in their best interest to do right by Dame, even if you end up getting less than you might have been able to otherwise. I think you do right by Dame, and you get as much of a young return. Like for Miami, if you could get like Tyler Hero, Jovic, and a couple 2 first-round picks or something like that. Like, that's not terrible, right? Like, that is something that I think they would do and accept. Could they have gotten a better package elsewhere? Possibly. Like, you got teams like Utah or, you got teams like, like the Knicks that could just give you great packages and stuff like that. But the reality is, one, does that where he wants to go? 2, do they actually want him? 3, they're probably not trading him to the Western Conference based on the reports. So, a package of Tyler Hero, like I said, Jovic, and I don't know, Highsmith or something like that, I think would be a nice little package, along with a couple firsts or however many firsts. It's something that Pat Riley would definitely do. So I think very likely, just based on all the reports and everything we're seeing and the stuff that Damian Lillard is talking about, I think Dame's going to Miami. I do. I think we get through the NBA Finals. I think the next week or two, you'll hear a kind of a ramp up in speculation, and I think we end up by draft day or whatever, I think Damian Lillard is a Miami Heat. I mean, maybe he goes elsewhere, but I think he wants to go to Miami. I think it makes sense for him to go to Miami. I think Miami could really use him. I think he could really use Miami. I think Damian Lillard in Miami is a match made in heaven. I really do. I think Damian Lillard and his mentality and just everything. The only question is, can he stay healthy? If he can stay healthy, then I think Miami's could be right back in the NBA Finals and even potentially winning one this time. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Think Damian Lillard is headed to Miami? Do you think he goes elsewhere? Do you think he stays in Portland? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, love to hear it. Let me know.